right? And where do we want to get to? And we can define that, right? I mean, we want everything that's currently there, in place, and it goes, I mean, I'm talking as deep as, like, I want to know what we're going to do, when are we opening, when are we closing, how many people do we expect to have on staff, what is the marketing plan to get pool attendance this year, and did we go to Del Rio, did we go to Uvalde, did we go to Eagle Pass to do that? I mean, all of these places are within striking distance of people that
To
will
bring
work.
in campers that will use this.
Well, and I'm just talking about
Get all
bringing
kinds
in,
of stuff.
Day
pool
passes.
attendants. I'm not even talking about that, I'm talking about staff.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, but basically, I mean, those are all things we need to do down the road. But none of that matters if the bathrooms look like the bathrooms and the change room looks like the changing
no,
rooms.
of course, but that's what I'm saying. Our directive is we want a plan built out. The expectation is we want a plan to revitalize the pool area. And these are the different things we want to see done.
Okay,
Develop that plan.
and how long do you think that plan will take?
No. The first goal is for us to develop the expectation. So we need to sit down and cash out what is the expectation to give to the GM. That's the goal, the short-term goal.
See, and I guess that's where we disagree. We have a pool area that needs fixing, period, before we open this spring. If we spend,
Okay, but you're
All
stopping,
this
you're saying,
time.
no, but you're saying that we can only do one.
well, that's
Okay.
what it sounds like you're saying.
No,
Like,
I'm
like
saying
we
number
can't
one-
do anything until
No.
we have this
Number-
grand design.
Number one is set the expectation for us to understand what it's going to cost to put the pool area in an acceptable fashion.
Okay.
Number two, we need to start by January 15th. But we're gonna have to decide what those priorities are, because none of those can be done without our approval, because none of them are gonna be 1,500.
Right.
So, I mean, you can have, but these don't have to be 1, 2, 3, they can be 1A, 2, 1A, 1B,
They're all
and
gonna be
C.
ones.
But we can just, they're all gonna be ones. But I'm saying like short-term
Okay, and I'm
goals.
just saying, we need goals, we need benchmarks. I just don't wanna see us get lost in the minutia, which happens sometimes, where we're like, we are thinking of every single thing for the next 15 steps without ever starting.
That's
but-
fair, but I mean, I think I think that we are bypassing a crucial step if we say, walk out of this room, fix the bathrooms, do nothing else.
Well, I'm not saying that.
Okay, so what
I'm
would
just
you like
saying-
to see happen?
I'm just saying, I just don't want to see us get bogged down and then.
I'm fine with
we
setting weekly goals. This doesn't have to be, we can define short-term. The question was asked already, we can define what short-term is. If you wanna say, okay, between now and January 1 for number 1, and between January 1st and January 15th, we want number 2, and between January 15th and January 3rd, we want number, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
But what are these steps? Because remember, we're also in a place of switching from a triage standpoint where it's all hands on deck and people are doing roles that whatever is the next role, right, that has to come up. But we have to grow as an organization and move to the point where we are not involving ourselves in the day-to-day task of like finding vendors. It's fine like with what you were doing where you found the vendors for the project that we need. Well, we found vendors that needed to be found, you passed them on, and that was that.
Yeah.
So, that's where we need to be. So in the same situation, we need to be saying, okay, this is what we want. We want to see plans for, and we can do 6 of these. Like there's no limit to the short-term goals that we have. In 2 processes, we want to see the plan by this time for Dickman, we want to see the plan by this time for the pool. What are the projects and what are the costs that we're going to need? And then we need to prioritize those as far as what we're seeing from the survey.
Can I make a recommendation?
Yes.
Maybe treat this exercise as brainstorming. Brainstorm the short-term goals, and it's going to be brush strokes, right? We're not gonna figure out all the details or how it's gonna get done. and then we're gonna have a list of a dozen, and then it's going back and looking at that list and saying, okay, what are the top three? Maybe low cost, low effort, high impact, generating revenue, or however you want to look at deciding what the top three are or the top six are, but like maybe instead of getting bogged down currently, like brainstorm it a little bit, just throw ideas out there based on the survey and the SWOT analysis of like what are the issues that have been coming up repeatedly and how can we address those?
At this moment, and a lot of this hasn't been discussed in here, but if I had a 1, 2, 3, it would be, number one, finish what we've already started, which we haven't finished, which would be the motel and concierge plus. And then
And the trees.
2 pool and 3 and Dickman are probably in that order, you know, whatever, big picture or small picture on any of that stuff.
I mean, from the survey, it sounded like it was the pool, the golf course, and Dickman Hall, because as part of the restaurant, right? So Dickman Hall. But then on the other side, when we went to the Fort Clark days, the theater was very like, hey, we've got events that are planned at the theater, and that ties up maintenance with one thing that has a deadline, because they have to have it done before, you know, Fort Clark days starts or whatever.
Is
But
that what they're doing there? Yeah, I think.
No,
They're
today, or
working
Yeah,
on
what
that.
are they
next
doing
week
at the
is the
theater?
new week. Oh, I don't know today.
Oh, it's done.
What did they do?
They moved all the wood that had been removed, the rotten wood that had been removed, they removed all of that wood from theater.
So did they take down the whole floor?
The floor?
So between the stage and the built-out area, that area was rotten. And
Not all of it was rotten, was it?
there was 8 inches of mud underneath there that when
Oh,
they
yeah, I
went
know
in there.
underneath is.
No, but when they went in, but all of those stanchions were sitting in water. So yes, it was.
Let's just say pool.
will you?
Wait, Brittany was like, Kathy's been waiting, sorry.
I'm kind of simple-minded. When you said 3 quick, short-term goals, okay, and we're talking about food, and everybody knows I've been planning to do this. The Border Patrol, Rio Grande would come over, we would have the Department of Safety come over. At Creekside, it was a very simple restaurant. I still say again, if you want a simple, quick little goal to increase some revenue, get a microwave, get a hot dog rotisserie, get a griddle, and start doing that,
Deep
and they will come and they will have their beer. People, there should be a coffee machine in there, the girls, all the girls are right there, so they can see who's trying to sneak off on number 1. They can service the food, they can make it and everything. So have the coffee, because some people want coffee in the morning, get something, hot dogs and bratwurst or whatever, and just something for the microwave. You can put burritos in the microwave, little pizza in the microwave. They'll buy their beer, they'll buy their soda, and they'll do that. And also what we found out at Dickman Hall is if you spend money and buy a really good salted peanuts, you're gonna sell a heck of a lot of beer.
Yeah.
It's true. But that's my first goal. My second little goal, a short one, I haven't really looked at it. Probably might have to take some asphalt. The tennis courts and the basketball courts over by the teen center or the gym, fix them up. The kids like it, the parents use it, everybody uses those 2 things even though they're horrible. And those are 3 short-term goals. That's all I have, thank you.
And I do think like the food, you know, doesn't have to be, I mean, a lot, it was dining and restaurant and all of that throughout the survey, but it doesn't need to be, you know, in the short
Full
term, it
scale.
doesn't need to be a restaurant. It can be that, and it can be, you know, whether it's under Fort, or I don't know if there's an opportunity for a lease situation or some sort of like,
They can invite food truck owners and then tax them. That's simple.
yeah. So I think there are a lot of ways to do that. It's just, you know, how and where and when and what structure.
I like what Memo said, finish what we started.
Yes.
It's a little bit of revenue and it all adds up.
You know, we started the pool. We did a lot with the drought, being able to fix the spring, fix the pool. The pool only needs cleaning once every 2 to 3 weeks now instead of every week because of the flow being corrected.
Oh, I'll add maybe
Getting
one
the
more
tilapia out
short
of
one, make
there
it kind of
has
short, I'm not
fixed
sure,
it.
and I mentioned, spiff up Shafter Hall, you know, just a main room would be fine. That might be under one of the
Shafter Hall.
long-term ones, maybe. But
Well,
it'll
and that's
create
kind
revenue.
of, you know, what is the, there's so many buildings that are sort of like, seem like probably an easy fix, and I don't know Chapter Hall, it might be the easiest, but that's where the survey is helpful, but also where y'all are gonna have, I think, the hardest time is, everyone wants something, and so then what does the community as a whole need, members, we all have something that we want now. So
Kathy,
how
maybe
do-
preservation could help you all out with Chapter Hall.
Pardon me?
Preservation.
They can only do the outside, and that is,
Well,
yeah.
we used to use bingo there, but, bingo kind of fell through way back when too. That was a great revenue maker.
It was not a
It was not a
revenue
new
maker.
no, it wasn't,
Well,
I found all the old files.
no.
It's not a revenue maker.
no. And it would
And it
cost,
takes a lot of time.
it would
and a
cost
lot
at
of-
least 10 grand to get it going again.
Yeah, it's not
The
worth it.
ladies in Bracketville loved it.
I like to make sure that marketing and communication is at least entertained as a short-term goal.
Yeah.
Because I think it's gonna
Yes.
be low cost, low effort, extremely high impact, and there's a lot of pain points coming from the survey and the community regarding communication. And I think it could be solved easily with at least a first phase
Right.
towards marketing.
The communication is my biggest concern, is just get all the information in one place. And so, right outside here, it says information center, so this would be a great spot to have, move the bulletin board that's over by the hotel, get the bugle box over here. Kenny County Post, all the different clubs, all the different organizations, everybody's posting, and everybody knows whether they're staying at the motel or they're a member, you come here to get information, and that the website also has,
Mirrors that.
we just collect all the information where we can find it all in one spot. And that, it's just so much of this is communication,
Right.
dropping the ball, it just, if we will concentrate on communicating with what we have right now, and then getting the website photos to match what it actually looks like, so that then we can start marketing.
And I have one more add-on for this, because I think it's important to ask why. Why is it such an issue and a concern? And I think it should be pointed out that there's not, we're talking about a full-time position for somebody to accomplish those things. And it's currently being, managed by volunteers and other efforts. And so that's something for everybody to understand and consider. What we're talking about and solving that problem is a lot of work. And it's really a full-time position for somebody to accomplish those things.
To accomplish what? I'm sorry.
Marketing, advertising, and that's all the communication to-dos that need to be
Within the
done, whether
community.
it's to the membership or the public, everybody. It's a
Yeah.
huge
Yeah.
job.
It is a huge
Well, and it's
job.
like even as little as like redesigning like these surveys going forward. I mean, to be more specific, as we've all said, like getting further and deeper and going to the gun club and getting a survey of just those people. I mean, going to the different organizations and finding out all of that is a part of communication, all of that is a part of marketing, because, as you were stating about the gun club, and we were talking about how it's private, well, one of the asks that, that's come to them is to hold 2 events, right? And so, okay, well, how are we gonna help you market those events? Because, yeah, we've asked you to do them, but how have we supported you in asking you to do that? I mean, we haven't. And so by doing this first is like getting to the point where we can say, yes, going back to what I was saying before, we will support you, and we're gonna support you in this marketing effort because we have this person who's contract or full-time or whatever the case may be.
But also, this is like a good process in just kind of introducing or outlining those assets and like finding that information, like this survey, this has been a big undertaking and I'm familiar deeply with the fort, but going out to somewhere or having another contracted party come in, the board and the staff and the management, everybody and the members would probably have had to have done so much background work just to get to the questions. I mean, because no information like this, even finding these amenities and all of these things would just, you almost don't even know what to ask because there's no information. And so, you know, building that asset inventory and like understanding that is gonna be a part of that marketing as well. And so this is a huge undertaking, but again, yeah, I think that's, it's gonna be a lot, but certainly.
The survey was a big step forward, and I'm very appreciative.
Yeah, very much so.
Now we just gotta keep making more steps forward.
Yes, exactly. But I
If
think
we
this will-
make the number one short-term goal to finish what we started,
Mm-hmm.
it touches the pool, it touches Dickman, and it
Mhm.
touches communication. We're currently in the middle of financial task force, fixing the finances so that we know what we've got, and that's with QuickBooks. Once that's done, we work into Concierge Plus because they're going to feed each other. That feeds communications. So finishing what we started, I mean, eventually we'll wind up with food, probably at Dickman, possibly at the golf course at Creekside, whatever, but we've already got some stuff in
Right.
place.
But as we've talked about before, finishing what we started may mean bringing in contract labor, you know,
Right.
whether that's at the pool area to get the trees to where they're just maintaining them versus trying to catch up, or
Right.
whether that's bringing extra resources to pound in data into Concierge Plus, or whatever the case may be. Like finishing what we started is obviously, like you said, touches on all those, but we may have to, other than just say finish what we started, like look at how we're gonna do that and what resources we're gonna need to be able to do that.
I'm in agreement.
But doesn't that go to our general manager, EO, say, okay, what is already started?
Right.
What are your next
what do you
steps?
need?
But
What's
that's
on
the
your next
question,
steps,
what do you
And then what do
need?
you need
What
to
is-
complete that?
Yeah, what is slowing you down? Oh, well, I have to have this, right? I mean, you know, and if it's the vendor, okay, well then tell us that. If it's labor, then tell us that.
Right.
It's,
Right.
you know, whatever the case may be.
So we're about out of time, but just quickly, I think if we want to, well, I don't know, maybe we want to focus on this and then get to long-term a little bit later, but, if anyone has any off the top of their head, long-term goals, well, it's not hard.
I think your short terms are gonna feed the long
Yeah.
terms.
Exactly.
You
When
know,
you
we're
consider, yeah,
gonna, we're gonna start
It'll
working
handle
on
it.
finishing up some of those projects, and I'm going, okay, well, we've got the labor in place now to go to another building and clean that building up, whatever, or whatever grounds, or it'll all come together.
Yep.
We've gotta start.
Well, I
with
know,
one.
this gives plenty to focus on, so I agree, I think, this is great, and it's inspirative.
Otherwise, we wind up blatting a whole bunch of
Yes,
stuff.
okay,
on
well,
it.
Yeah, your short terms are gonna pretty much create your long terms
Yeah.
once they're
Exactly.
complete, so.
Exactly.
This, I hope,
You've
it's
done
been
good.
helpful and we'll continue to develop, but thank you, I appreciate y'all, I know it's been
Are you gonna
long-winded,
present the
but-
same thing next Friday?
No,
Or
so
something
next Friday, will be kind of a general review, we'll have the summaries of the additional comments and verbatim responses and, some executive summaries and context, and then we'll have, we're gonna start developing brand guidelines, just drafts and, see what that looks like and talk about, start getting into some of the more detailed plan suggestions about where to go from here, so. But that will be next Friday from 10 to 2 and free lunch, so.